What if I told you that these dead weeds are a superfood? So these dead weeds are pigweed, redroot, or wild amaranth as it's sometimes called. If you've ever gone out into your garden and pulled out a weed with broad triangular leaves and there's this red root hanging onto the bottom, that's what this is. However, now it is January and these have gone to seed and they're actually a really good source of food.
It's like petting a cat's tail.
A spiky cat's tail.
That leaves slivers in your fingers.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Now if you look in there, you can see that there's this brown chaff, but then there's also these little black seeds, kind of like quinoa. Turns out the seeds are high in protein, dietary fiber, and a lot of vitamins and minerals. They're very small and very crunchy, and it's kind of fun to munch on them like sunflower seeds. And if you get enough of them, they have this kind of citrusy taste, which is really nice. Now, what am I going to do with these? One thing I could do is harvest them all right now, turn them into seeds and eat them, and that would be awesome. That's actually not what I'm going to do with them though. In agriculture, there's a concept known as eating your seed corn. What that means is over the winter, you need to store some of your seeds or your corn so that you can plant it in the spring. Otherwise, you won't have any harvest. If you eat all the corn that you've saved up, you won't have any at all next year. However, if you save a small amount, then the next year you can plant it and get a large amount. So the same concept applies here. I could take these and harvest these, grind them and make some kind of bread out of them, or just eat them by themselves because they're quite tasty. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take some of the seeds and I'm going to save them, and then I'm going to go spread them in an area where they haven't seeded yet. And then in the spring, I'll have a giant crop of amaranth that can be harvested for the leaves, and then also in the fall they can be harvested for the grains.
Redroot, amaranth, pigweed, it's a superfood, it's good for you, so why is it a weed? Well, the thing that makes it a weed is not so much what it is, so much as where it's growing. We're sitting right on the edge of a garden plot that is used every year for corn. And because this is a very successful pioneer plant, it's very hardy, it's very good at growing, very good at its job, it outcompetes the corn and makes the corn suffer. And so if you have the corn and the redroot together, that's a bad thing. Well, as a result of this, we're going to take some of these seeds and move them to an area that's not being used for anything right now, where this will then become the primary crop. The thing that makes a weed is not what it is, it's where. Similarly, things can be good or not dependent on what they are, but dependent on where and when. I like to keep an open mind and think just about everything works this way, but then you have that weed that crawls out and creates those caltrop-shaped goat head things that stab your tires. I have not been able to find anything good for those, so some things are just flat out wrong.
Well, we better get to seeding anyway.
Okay, broadcast. That's actually where the term broadcasting comes from.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm.
A broadcast?
Yep, it's a way of getting seed out there.
You know, this kind of makes me think of that children's book, The Lupin Lady. I don't know if you've read it, but there's this little girl who lives with her grandfather by the sea, and her grandfather tells her that before she settles down by the sea someday, she has to do something to make the world a more beautiful place. And what she ends up doing, accidentally actually, is she ends up scattering lupin seeds everywhere, and the hillsides are covered in lupins, the whole town is covered in lupins. It's really beautiful. It's a great children's story. We're going to spread it in a couple different places and see where it does best.
That's very empirical.
It's set to rain tomorrow, so hopefully that'll get the seeds a little wet and hopefully wear them into the soil a bit. And then I guess I'll just... Next year's harvest.